Hi, welcome to Life Skills with Louie. I'm Louie, and today we're talking about the U-turn. If you haven't watched the introduction to the Learning to Love section, please do that. And if you haven't watched the introduction to the entire video series, that will also be helpful to orient yourself to all of these skills. To dive right into the U-turn, this is an essential starting point for learning to love. The U-turn has to do with how does this interface happen between ourselves and another person. And I learned about the U-turn from Internal Family Systems, IFS, and I've expanded it somewhat. And I use the hands for a few reasons that I'll explain. First thing is, if you've looked at connecting to calm, willing posture and different postures that can have an impact on your psychological state, the hands are a really powerful tool. Feeling the hands, how the inside of the hands feel, what Eckhart Tolle calls the inner body and what our current nomenclature calls interoceptive awareness. To feel the insides of the hands and how it feels to have your hands is where we start with this whole journey. I am very aware of my hands and the experience of them when I'm with other people. It helps me to know where my psyche is and if I'm in a truly open and receptive place. This posture of open-handed gesture of welcoming and opening and a willingness to hold someone in their experience is a wonderful posture that I think is very connected to love. And it's not easy to hold this posture. The work that went into the getting to great, connecting to calm, connecting to clear, the being beyond skills, to be able to be with yourself, to be aware of your experience and respond to it, is critical to begin to have enough awareness that's embodied to really be able to share with others in this way. Also, though, tension will arise because relationships are about the bonding and the connection and receiving from each other in this mutually beneficial way. They are also about learning. And when you are in relationship, emotions will come up. That's why the AA guidelines of not being in a relationship for a year once you're sober have some real wisdom to them, because relationships do stir things up. It's a challenge. The opportunity of that is there's the opportunity to grow. If you're not aware of this going in, it can be a real bummer when you exit the initial stage of the in love or the high that comes from the beginning of every relationship, when there's a lot of fantasy and excitement, and then the pain starts to come up. If you are aware of that going in, that there will be pain within the relationship, and how you hold it has a lot to do with how the relationship goes, it's really helpful for the possibility of success. So the hands remain this incredible tool, because what I've realized is that when the emotions come up, our hands change. They become tight, they become restricted. And this posture is one that goes from connection to fighting. And another very common posture that will occur in relationships when emotions have gotten too high and one needs to do some work within is this posture of pointing to the other and blaming them. And the fighting and the blaming don't work. There are certainly times where one needs to stand up for oneself and one needs to hold someone accountable for what they have done. But these are very different energies, and the hands would still be in this more open posture. So be aware of your hands and your whole body and your experience of your emotions and your experience of everything in your system, as was talked about in Getting to Great, is critical for beginning to have this ability to love. So the U-turn is actually a few different U-turns that relate to relationships, and I want to talk about each one in turn. The first U-turn is that some people you simply don't resonate with. It is not a fit. And that is okay. We are not meant to be in close contact with everyone. People can be loved from afar and there can be boundaries. And so the first U-turn is that with some people, you may need to do a literal U-turn, take a step back, move away either for a short period or forever, and just not create with them. That is okay. And I want to make that very clear. If the separation process is more tricky, get help. If there's any kind of contention and fighting and any danger of any kind, make sure that you have enough help to explore options. Make sure you have a therapist to talk about the experience you're in if it's more complicated. If it's just a situation where someone is in some emotion and the way they are just doesn't work for you, you have every right to say, no thanks, this is not what I'm looking for. So that's the first U-turn, the literal U-turn. The second U-turn is on the other spectrum where you realize in relationship with someone, something is coming up for you and it really requires all of your attention. And the gesture that I use to symbolize this, or that I literally will use with myself regularly, is that both of your hands need to come to your own heart, to your own experience. It is very common in relationship that emotions come up that will require your full attention for a period of time, and that is okay, and that is really necessary. You will be returning to the Getting to Great, connecting to calm, being beyond, and connecting to clear skills when this is the case, and whatever other skills you use to help you tend to yourself, care for yourself, take care of what comes up. And there are also some skills actually in learning to love that will be helpful with especially validation as a tool that we haven't talked about in Getting to Great. That's a really helpful skill that you can use with yourself and with others. So be aware that doing this is a wonderful and important thing to do. And then the idea is to come back. The third U-turn is symbolized by this. One hand out, one hand on your own heart. This is where we work to be as we become more and more aware and more able to be with our experience, and perhaps keep one hand connected to the other at the same time. This is something I work on in my work as a psychiatrist regularly, and people don't have to go to the same depth that we go to in our psychotherapeutic training, but everyone can work on this ability to keep one's hand out for another person and take care of your own emotion at the same time. And it's challenging for various reasons for various people. So what this would look like is you're still with another person and you're also giving some attention to your own experience. And you may be using some kind of a skill, Getting to Great, connecting to clear, being beyond, connecting to calm, while you're still with another person. And developing this ability is really useful and helps you to know that you can be there for yourself and for another person at the same time. But this both situation is something that really takes practice. So remember these symbols, and it's a nice thing to actually play around with yourself with the awareness of your hands and your experience with another person, whether it's in your imagination that you think about your hands and kind of feel your hands, or if you actually kind of keep them open as you're speaking with people, that can be a helpful practice. Noticing when you're getting tension and the urge to fight, blame, noticing when you need to actually do a full U-turn and step away from a relationship, noticing when you need to give all of your attention to your own situation internally and the emotions that are arising, because emotions will arise with beginning to love and be in a relationship with others. Being ready for that, aware of that, and taking the time and attention when needed is critical. And then this last posture, practicing bit by bit the ability to be with your own experience at the same time that you are with another person's experience, is a challenging practice, but an incredibly rewarding one. So I hope you find this helpful. Thank you for watching, and think about tuning into the inner experience of your hands and your entire body for that matter as a portal to the present moment, which is spoken about in Connecting to Clear, and begin to become more aware of your relationships and how you do with setting boundaries when needed, being with your own experience when required, and beginning to practice being with your own experience at the same time that you're with someone else's experience. Thank you.